Hello folks, welcome to GingerLion's modded Minecraft Let's Play. This is Agrarian Skies, which is available on the Feed the Beast launcher, and this is episode 31. So, between this time and last, I did a little bit of stuff. For example, I finished all of the processing of all of my old style ores, finished it completely and cleaned that room up. Also, I found that I've got a huge amount of sludge in my ME network, like 18 kilo buckets of it, and so I realized that my current sludge management system just wasn't cutting the mustard, so I tore it out and I'm about to go replace it. So today the things that I intend to work on almost all come down to two quests. And these are really preparations for these quests because they're big deals. I'm going to be working on For the Hoarding quests of Cobblegen Madness and Dirt Collection. For Dirt Collection, you need 100 quadruple compressed dirt, which ends up being 600,000 plus dirt. And for Cobblegen Madness, you need 1 quadruple compressed cobblestone, which is 47 million cobblestone. So, first thing that I'm going to do is set up some sludge boilers, because they're going to produce me some dirt and they're going to use up sludge out of my system, which I consider to be two very positive aspects of the same thing. But remember, if you're using a sludge boiler and am I putting this down the right way? Yeah, it's not particularly sighted. Good. If you're using a sludge boiler and you're anywhere near it, it can hurt you. So, I'm putting all my sludge boilers out here on the edge, and as you see, I'm putting a lot more sludge boilers than the one that I'd had before. We'll see if that's enough, and if it's not, I'll extend the platform a little bit. So, what I would really like... Should have thought this out before I did it. I'm going to have to go jump on top. What I'd really like is to run my power conduits along the outside edge, because they're not a thing that I need to configure, as opposed to the import and export systems, which take a little bit more configuration. Guess I could have come over here and done it, but I'm actually going to take off my chest plate. That's what gives me haste. And this way I will be much slower and much less likely to walk off the edge into the void. So, power conduits along the edge, like so. Now, sludge boilers, for anyone who hasn't played with them, they basically cook sludge that's produced by your harvesting systems into dirt, sand, I think sometimes gravel, clay, a whole bunch of otherwise very useful things that are even more useful on a map like this, where access to some of those things can be quite difficult. Let's see, I'm going to run this around the end, because that's a little bit easier for me. Okay, that gets, theoretically, power to all of that. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a line of fluid export buses. This will get them filled with the sludge that they need to do their job. Not like that, it's not. Okay. So make sure you shift-click them onto the top of the sludge boiler directly, because otherwise, obviously, they will point at each other and that will be a problem. Now, let me get these and these out of my hands. So, next, I would like to run power. Actually, I have power over here. It might be easier to run power around this end. Except that now I can't get up on top of these. Let's see if I can do it this way. Nope. I can do that, which starts the process, and then I can do something a little foolhardy. There. There we go. Almost makes me nervous standing over the void like that. So now I'm going to connect all these to power. Now I've decided that since I'm putting so many of these out here that I may, at some point here, need to get to them, need to do something else out here. And so I'm going to put in a little bit of a switching system. How am I going to do that? Well, it's actually pretty simple. I am going to put down some dark cable. And that dark cable is going to control the connection to all of them for the export bus. Let's see, what's the best way for me to set this up? I think I'll just do it right here. So, this, well actually, I can't get to that. Unfortunately, because of the way I have all these cables laid out, I can't get to that location without walking very close to the sludge boilers anyway. So, let's try this a different way. Reconnect this. So why don't I actually handle the fluid transfer system before, the solids transfer system, before I come back and handle the last of the wiring. So, these like to export into an adjacent inventory. So the easiest way, as far as I'm concerned, to do that is to just set up some chests behind them, except that I, didn't think that through completely. And I'm going to have to go and get myself a couple of non-normal chests, iron chests of one kind or another. Whatever I have readily available. Okay. And then my dark cable will go right there with a lever next to it. I dropped off my levers too, didn't I? Okay, that's fine. And then some regular cable connecting this way. It wastes a little bit more cable, but at least it guarantees that I'm going to be able to, control this. I'm not going to put in the last one. Let me go put my chest plate back on and go get a couple of things that I need. I need myself a lever. I need chests. Let's make... no reason not to have lots of chests in this system. And what's the easiest upgrade from here? Just a second. Uses. The uses of this include all sorts of things. Let's see if we can find there. So, looks like the iron chest or the copper chest. The copper chest will work just fine for me. Actually, I could make... I'm going to do something that's utterly ludicrous, but, I'm allowed. Dirt chest 3000, please. I want... There we go. The Dirt Chest 3000, if you haven't played with this, is a chest with only one inventory slot in it. The only problem is you have to open it up and get these books out of it, which are, silly. But the advantage to this is it only has one location to store items in, so if you're trying to use a chest as a buffer of some kind, the Dirt Chest is a really great choice for that. Well, I'm really not getting these set up correctly at all. Now let's delete that series. Bing. Easy enough. And put down the last two. And yes, this is a book about how to use your dirt chest, which is amusing and ludicrous, and I love it. So anyway, let me pick these back up. You'll notice the break texture is not high. This is sort of a joke item. Not a lot of people use it for a lot of things, but anytime that I'm going to use a chest as a buffer, I really like the dirt chests, because they're cheap, and they guarantee that you're not going to get a huge flood of items, like I said. So now, put these down here. Now, if you guys can hold on for a minute, it looks like my apartment's grounds crew is just about to pass by my house. Okay, folks, they're done. And so, while you were gone, I set each one of these to export sludge. And now what we do is we set all of these item ducts with a quick whack of the wrench to export mode. And then we put servos in each one. I could put down levers, and it might even be faster to do, but I like the clean layout of not having to worry about such a thing. Pretty sure I got them all now. And then obviously set these to ignored. Now, I set up an interface over here that I'm going to pipe all these items into. Unfortunately, of course, because I only have a 2-tall ceiling here, I designed it as a crawl space, not really as a workspace, which is fine. I'm going to have to break this item duct if I need to get in here and do some work, but it's a completely unconfigured thing. It's just a break and replace when I'm done, kind of. So I guess sometimes you have to take off access panels to get to things, and that's life. So let me finish with these real quick. Not like that. There. So now all of these are pulling out, and they're all going to feed into there. And so I'm going to put the item... Now, I attached this to this upper line rather than this lower line. This lower line is switched. Like I said, I put some dark cable here. If you flip this switch, it activates. If you flip this switch, it turns off. This will allow me to turn off the fluid export buses, which will in turn allow me to control when these things are getting liquid and when they're not. So now, all of them should be getting liquid, and I should take some damage in just a moment. Oh, no, I turned this off. So, let's flip this on. Wait a couple seconds while the system figures out what's going on and begins exporting fluids. And if I walk over here, yep, if you'll notice, sludge boilers are active, and I have a poison and hunger effect, which is kind of dangerous on this map. So, now we have a system that should be pouring dirt and sand and various other useful things into our system. So what else do we need to do? Well, I want to show you a couple of preparations I made for this, but most of what I'm about to do I'm going to do off camera. Though having this would help a lot. Yeah, there we go. I am going to set up... Let's see, I don't need this sludge bucket anymore. I do want to go check one thing before I move on to the next project. I had sludge in here, and it looks like the sludge is slowly ticking down faster than it's ticking up, and that pleases me. I probably don't need to install a bunch more boilers. So, next, I set up a system for automatically filling up water and lava cans. Why would I do that? Well, because I'm about to fill a bunch of igneous extruders. Like I said, it's time to work on the Cobble Gen Madness quest, and cans are going to be the fastest and easiest way for me to fill a whole bunch of igneous extruders with the necessary things. So let me grab them. And I'd like to show you how I set up that automatic can filling process, because it was not particularly intuitive. It goes like this. What you do is you make extra fluid terminals. And this fluid terminal I clicked on lava. This fluid terminal I clicked on water. And I set each with a recipe that says 1 can equals 1 water can. And in this case, 1 can equals 1 lava can. And then I put import buses on the sides. So when the system pushes a can in here, it hits here, fills, pops out, and gets sucked back into the system. So that's my easiest way that I've found of filling cans and whatnot. So, now, I'm going to use this room over here, and when I'm done, I'm going to seal it up completely. Why? Well, igneous extruders, in fact, all of the ME machines make light when they operate, and so they cause lighting updates. Also, they create graphical updates. And so if I do not, let me just actually check something. Plenty, good. If I do not put this in a completely sealed room, it's going to create a lot more lag for me than I would particularly like. So I'm going to do some work and do some setup, and I'll be back in a little bit to show you what I've done. Okay, folks, so this room turns out to be 16 blocks long, which is kind of nice. So, and igneous extruders are set up automatically when you place them to export to the top and to the bottom. So, I figured the most efficient way of me laying all of these out was to simply place an interface above and below each one. And then, as you see, one click with a water can, one click with a lava can, and they are automatically set up to make cobblestone, and they will export it into the interfaces above. Now, the interfaces aren't connected to anything yet, but they're going to take a lot of filling before they're... interesting. I've got all of them working, and one extra can. Oh, I have one extra can of everything. So, I'm going to go ahead and do a bunch more work. I think I'm going to put a lot of igneous extruders in this room, and I'll be back once you can see more of the results. Okay, folks, so as you can see, I've already put down 256 of them. And if you look in my inventory, I have all the things that I need to finish filling all of the rows of this building except that one where the elevator is. So I'm going to finish that, and then I will be right back. There you go, folks. 448 igneous extruders. May seem like overkill, but I'm telling you, it barely reduces the time down to something acceptable. So, because all these machines are in this room, and because that produces so many lighting updates, I've carefully sealed the room, and one of the tricks I've used, let me come show you, to make sure the room is completely sealed, is that the connection to the ME network is made over here by putting an interface in. So this interface is connected to one of the interfaces in all those rows, and then they're all cabled together. That keeps me from getting quite so much lighting lag, and frame rate lag based on all of those machines running. And if you'll notice, we already have 277,000 cobblestone, and it's ticking up at 200-300 a minute, second. So let's grab a little of that cobble and come over to our auto assembly system. I have turned these off, correct? Yes. I can turn these back on. And so basically these are two cyclic assemblers that are busy turning cobblestone into compressed. And if you'll note, they are moving fast enough to almost keep this one operating all the time. So that's how we are going to process our cobblestone. Let's see where we're at right now. We have one quintuple here. We have two sextuple there. We haven't yet even got enough. We haven't made enough sextuple to make a septuple compressed cobblestone. So when we get there, we'll put a pattern in here, and then finally we'll actually be able to make here the product that we want. So I also want to do the same thing with dirt, except that dirt is a little bit easier, because I've already been making quadruple compressed dirt, I thought. Did I put it away somewhere? Let's see. Oh, there's a dirt chest. No. That's odd. Oh, it was the cobblestone I was doing that with. But, yeah. So at the moment, this takes 6,000 dirt, which means that I can make, let's see, let's make 10. That's 60,000. It's 120,000 dirt. I need to make 100 of those in the end, and this will just suck some of the dirt out of my system and put it in a more compressed form, which will be available for my use. Now, let's check. See that the cobblestone is definitely now ticking down. Yep, it's ticking down, but it's staying very close. So that means that our cobblestone production system is almost exactly tied with the speed of 2 export buses. And that's going to match almost exactly once all of this is full. You'll notice this is ticking up at a couple of seconds. Once those are completely full, then the the export rate will drop, and things should stabilize a lot. So that's pretty nice. It gets me closer to a couple of major quests. So let's see what else we can put a little bit of work into right now. Are there any quests I really thought that I had set up to finish fluid protein? Let's see where we're at. We have 1 kilo bucket, 1.3 kilo buckets, but we're not quite there yet. But you know what? I think I'm going to set up the export system and make that work. I'll be right back once I have the things I need. Okay, folks, so I told you I was going to go submit part of that request, and then I came to a realization that I've been sort of haphazardly setting up QDSs when I need them, and I think it's time for me to stop doing that. So let me show you what it is that I'm going to set up. I'm basically going to set up 6 QDSs, 3 for fluids, 3 for solids. Let me show you how they get set up so that they're set up the best they can be in automatic. So these are RedNet cables. What we're going to do is we're going to place a comparator right here with the 2 dots facing out toward us. And then we're going to place a QDS here. The reason is because the QDS will export a signal. I've told you this before, but review is never a horrible thing. We'll emit a redstone signal if it has a valid quest attached to it, and it will stop as soon as it doesn't. So what that means is we can use this redstone signal that comes off this through this comparator to turn on and turn off our export devices. That means we won't just continue to waste things. For example, when I set up the mushroom soup quest, I wasted several hundred buckets of mushroom soup. Not that I cared, because I went and voided the mushroom soup, a lot of it after that. But for other quests, it will matter quite a lot. So better to set it up to be efficient rather than not. So for these 3, they're going to be fluid. And so each one of those, I'm going to put a portable tank right here. And that's an input mode, so I'm going to switch it over to export mode. And then I'm going to put a fluid export bus on top of each one. Okay, and then I'm going to set the fluid export buses to active with signal. All 3. And then I'm going to connect a RedNet cable to the export buses. This way, they will get their signal from effectively, in the end, from the QDS that it's time for them to export fluids. So, let me grab some ME cable, connect these together. So for the moment, these won't do anything, and even if I set them up to export something, they won't start exporting until I bind a job to the QDS. Now, the solids one are just a little bit more complicated. And again, this is all because exporting directly to the QDS has had issues. I've been told that it's been fixed in the latest revisions, but at the moment I haven't proven it, and I don't like wasting my items. So this seems to me to be, just a safer way of doing this. And I'm gonna guess I'm gonna break this and replace it, because, well, if I'm setting them all up, I might as well set them all up to face the same direction. So I am going to set these up to export. I used impulse item ducts to make it faster. And now I'm going to connect this, but I don't really want this connected. Not like that. That was a mistake. There we go. So now that will work. So let me reconnect this one. And again, I'm taking the sledgehammer, the precision sledgehammer, which is basically made out of plastic sheets and sticks from MFR, and I'm right-clicking on this plate down at the bottom. Cable-only connection mode now is how I want it. That way, it's ignoring any other redstone signals it might be getting. Now, what I'd like is to put some precision export buses on the top of these chests. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put it on the back of these chests, which will save me just a little bit of RedNet cable and just a little bit of ME cable. So now I can break that. Let's see, can you break it with a precision sledgehammer? You can. Very nice. Shift right click breaks with the precision sledgehammer. And now, no, I don't want these on the back. I just changed my mind. That happens. Yeah. Because what I just realized was this. I would like all of these to be accessible from the front, so I never have to come around the back of this set of devices again. All I have to do is walk up to the front of it, decide which items this quest needs, and then bind it to the QDS. So, change of plans, back to my original plan. There we go. There's an export bus on the top of that, and one on top of that, and come on, there we go, one on top of that. Good. So now, let's put back this cable, and this cable, and that cable. Now, again, I want to set all of these to active with signal. And I think I'm going to start by setting them all to stack mode. So now, I'm going to use the dirt quest as an example on this one. I don't have a lot of... Well, let me see. Are there any other hoarding quests that I feel like I can get some work on? Ah, yes. Oakwood. I have 5,000 oakwood, and I need 100,000 oakwood, but I don't have a lot of other uses for oakwood right now. So I might as well set this up. The first thing that I do is I come up to a QDS set, and decide that and bind this to wood. Now it's designed to export wood in stacks. And then I grab the quest book, select task, bang, bound to the QDS, and this is immediately... This is exporting items into this chest. This is pulling it out down below. If I open the quest book... Interesting. Oh, and I have to connect all the cables, because if it's not connected to the ME network, it can't transport ME items. Sometimes I do forget steps. Let's see. Right across the ceiling here. There we go. Now let's see if this begins exporting oak wood like it's supposed to. Active with signal. It's receiving a signal proven by that turning red. Perhaps the dirt chest is not going to work in the middle. Perhaps I need a better chest. So, let's see. Let's see if this solves the problem. I would prefer to use the dirt chest, but if I have to use a vanilla chest, I will. Let's see. That hasn't done anything in all this time. It should have by now. Let's remove this. And put a vanilla chest in the way. There we go. Yep, unfortunately it looks like the dirt chest isn't going to work on that. Oh well, it was a nice try. I should go and check whether or not it's working for the the other application I use dirt chests for today. So there we go. That's a process for setting up automated export for a solid, and for a liquid, I want a blank bucket, and I'm going to go upstairs and fill it. Come on, there we go. Over here, meat, filled. How much do we have? I waited enough, there's 1.4, we're aiming for 1.6, so we're not in bad shape. So again, I'm going to come over here, I'm going to set this to move lots, because I can. I'm going to put this in here. But you'll notice nothing empties in here, until I come over to the fluid quest, go with the flow. I pick this quest, select task, and bang, bound to that QDS. Immediately, liquid meat begins pouring through. This says 2%, 3%, etc. completed, and there we go. Meat is pouring in there as fast as it reasonably can. So, there we go. There is a quick and easy way to set up an automated return system. I did have to leave spaces between these, because if you don't, these redneck cables will attach to each other, and then you end up having to, configure these for different colors, or deal with the separate. It wasn't worth it. It was easier to just use up a little bit of space. And this way I can bind as many quests as I need, and all of that will work. So now let's just go back out and check, because I just suggested that I do it. First, let's go ahead and eat some pizza. Okay. So that when I become hungry out there and poisoned, I have full food. Let's go and check. Guarantee there's a dirt chest right here that we can reach. This is full of sludge, full of energy, but not working, whereas these are working. Dirt chest isn't doing the job. So, I'm going to go replace those, and I will see you guys next episode. Have a good one.